Hi there, welcome to my first video. Today I'm going to show you how I've coloured this fantasy stone wall with coloured pencils, shown here in Johanna Basford's World of Flowers. I've found another picture by Johanna Basford from Ivy and the Inky Butterfly to show you this technique today. Here's the bit I've already started to show you the effect that I'm aiming for. Today I'm going to be using these Arteza expert coloured pencils mostly. I do have a Faber-Castell Polychromos black because I know that is going to be the darkest shadow I can possibly get. And with it being in a castle, then I think that'll be quite good. So the other colours I've got are all Arteza, and I've got this orchid purple, I've got amethyst purple for some shadows, I've got lavender, and then periwinkle blue, so that we can have some pink and some blue stones for variation. So I wanted to use these because they are one of my favourites, and also it demonstrates that you don't have to spend the earth. You can still get those contrasting effects blending with these pencils, which are about half the price of Polychromos. So I'm going to start out with the orchid purple, and I'm going to introduce some of this colour. I'm using my little circles technique, and I'm just starting off with it coming in from the corner. The good thing about stones is that they're very forgiving because naturally they're not uniform, they're all different, and that's very forgiving for us colourists. Going in from the other side, you can do it randomly and do them all differently. And what I'm going to be doing is some of the stones with the orchid purple and some of them with the blue. So I want to do a good mixture. That one's quite almost all covered by the pink, but be aware that you don't want to colour over your white too much, because that'll help us to create some really nice highlights that are going to contrast with those darkest shadows that we're going to have. Might do this one pink and this one here. Maybe a bit darker pink, but we can always go back later and add more pink if we wanted. I think this one perhaps might have a bit of pink and blue, why not? At this stage I'm not worried too much about the light and shade, I'm just applying the colour that I want the stone to have. You can use any colours you like. You could have blues or greens, or you could go for greys. I'm using pinks because it's quite a fantasy sort of picture. So with my periwinkle blue, I'm going to add some blue and blend that in, a bit like an ombre. Do want to leave a white highlight there though, I don't want to lose that brightness of the white paper there. This one's going to be blue. That little one there. And this one. Might not have two the same next to each other. That's how it might be on a real wall. There we go. Now I'm going to start to think about the shadows And I'm going to tie these two different coloured types of stone together with this lavender. So I'm thinking that's probably going to be shadow down there, and so I'll put that in first. And the shadow can also be, although the light's sort of coming from the top direction, there's going to be a shadow perhaps on the side. And don't be afraid to round off the corners as well, because that might be the shape of the stone. Because stones are quite irregularly shaped, so that's fine. You could even add a little bit in the middle, because it'll have a bumpy surface, perhaps being a stone. And just makes it a bit more realistic. And right into the corners I'm going to do some shadow there. Moving on to the blue, doing the same with that one, and you can see how this colour, because it's being used on all the stones, is helping to tie them all together. Like that. So that's that bit. I won't colour all of them because I'll just demonstrate the technique to you. The next thing I'm going to do is go into the shadows again, but this time with a darker purple, and this is where I really will be focusing on using the dark colour to push some areas of the stones back to look like they're receding into the wall. And you can see that introducing this really dark purple is contrasting with the lightest highlights, and it's helping to enhance them. So again, it's about not overdoing it with this colour, because we want the highlights to stand out, and really it's just enhancing them. I think there might still be some shadow in the corner there at the top. Let's round it again. But you know that the amount that it's rounded, the amount that it's shaded is different on every stone, on every corner. And the stones are sort of interacting with what's around them, so there's going to be a shadow there from the dragon's belly. So, you know, it doesn't have to be monotonous colouring these stones. They're all different, and you know, it can be quite interesting just to do different things on the different stones. Finally, I'm going to get my, actually I've forgotten there, I think that might be a shadow as well, my black, going right into those corners, so I've got the darkest shadow I possibly can, and that is used very sparingly, which I think maximises the effect of it. So you can see how some bits of stone look like they're further in front than the ones that are heavily shaded, going into the corners and into the gaps between the stones. And that's essentially the technique there. So there's our finished stone wall. I hope you liked my first video. Please do hit like and subscribe to my channel for more colouring tips. You can also follow me on Instagram at ColouringCrazyLucy.